YouTube, welcome back to the channel. And today guys, one guy commented on one of my videos about a deck list for a floowandereeze and labyrinth deck. Now by far I was really questioning myself if ever I will be using this type of deck in rank, seeing most of the cards are gonna be floowandereeze based. Other than that, you will also have, or you will be showcasing more of the floowandereeze side rather than the labyrinth side. But even so, we have some labyrinth included into this mix because we are testing this deck out here. Now the key point about this deck is, well, typically you can run with the floowandereeze side and then off with an M-Pen with a Dreaming Town, your field spell, some of the unexplored winds. Also, if you're going with the labyrinth side of the field, then you have a ton of trap cards that will actually support your floowandereeze monsters once they are on the field. You can recycle back or set that card back to the field with the help of Silver Castle. Now the downside for this type of deck is basically once the effect of Dimension Feature or the Shifter is activated, basically your Dogmatica Punishment won't be on effect because it states here the monster needs to be sent to the graveyard, and if you do, destroy that monster. So the monster is banished, of course, thus avoiding the if you do statement, and then the monster won't be destroyed. So that of course won't prop the effect of one of the labyrinth monsters. So by far just having to scratch this out and adding another copy of Compulsory or even another copy of Different Dimension Ground. But I think you're going to be moving towards a floowandereeze side of a gameplay. So I think having 2 copies of Dogmatica Punishment is somewhat necessary in some cases. But yeah, it's really up to you guys. But I prefer just having 2 copies of Dogmatica Punishment just in case. Alright, the deck composition for this deck is 3 copies of Verbena, 3 copies of Eaglin, 1 Stray, 1 Token. The basic ratio for a floowandereeze deck: 3 Arianas, 2 Shifters, 1 Ryza, and then 2 M-Pens. You can go with 2 Ryza and 1 M-Pen. But I think that's gonna be good if you're going with 2 M-Pens. You can also go for 1 Ryza, 1 M-Pen, and 1 Snow for your more level 5 or more monster for your floowandereeze side. 1 Silver Castle, of course, as a basic labyrinth deck that you might need. 3 Pot of Extravagance. Now Extravagance is really useful to get a hold of your 2 cards, of course, but of course you need to sacrifice extra deck monsters for this. Of course, that being you can't use the effect of punishment once most of your cards are banished because of the Extravagance. But even so, like I said earlier, you're gonna be playing most of the time under the floowandereeze side. But yeah, it's still gonna be reliable in some cases. Field spell, or the 2 field spell that is relevant for this deck, you have 1 copy of the Magnificent Map, 1 copy of Labyrinth, Dimensional Fissure, 2 copies, 1 Unexplored Winds, 1 Advent of the Adventure. I think 1 copy is enough basically. 2 copies of Compulsory, 2 copies of Different Dimension Ground. If you don't have Different Dimension Ground, the Fissure is really good. But yeah, this is actually a really good card to actually play on if you're using a Labyrinth deck. 2 copies of Dimension Barrier, of course, just to remove problems like Ritual Fusion, Synchro, Exe, or Pendulums. Downside for this is you can't call Link, but even so, it's still manageable. 2 copies of Evenly Match, the Punishment, of course, 1 Dreaming Town, and 3 copies of Welcome Labyrinth, basically. So that is your main deck. Extra deck revolves around the same number of cards, or the cards that you'll need for Dogmatica Punishment, which of course your Entes, your Fossil Monsters, 1 copy of 5-Headed Dragon. You can go for the 3-headed Blue Eyes White Dragon thing. Wind Pegasus, 2 copies, 1 Omega, 1 Lyrilisk Assemble Nightingale, and 1 Assemble Robin. You can go for another Lyrilisk monster that is not really expensive on rarity, but I think I just prefer this because of a level 1 Exe monster. And then your Nightmare monsters, your Cerberus, Phoenix, and your Unicorn. So that's basically it. That is basically the composition of this deck. And now guys, I'm going to showcase you guys some replays for this type of deck. It might not be the best of replays because most of the time people are just scooping into this type of deck. But even so, I'm going to showcase the replays otherwise. So enjoy, and I'll see you guys on the outro later on. Bye-bye. Alright guys, so we have 3 replays for you guys today, and typically this is just going to showcase the deck's power or capability during a gameplay. So We have one Arena, one Eaglin, one Ariana, one Advent of the Adventure, and one Dimension Ground. So it's really good card to actually start off our combo with, and we're going first. So most of the time, or in some cases, you're gonna go second with this type of deck. So in some cases, that's why we have the Shifter and the Evenly Match, just to even out the playing field if ever our opponent is actually going first. But even so, yeah, well, having a floowandereeze deck on a turn 1 basis always gets you the win. So we go for that typical floowandereeze gameplay, get a copy of the Dreaming Town, and we still have the different dimension ground if ever our opponent is using tier elements. So there we go. Opponent is gonna negate my M-Pen, which is not really a problem basically. We chain with different dimension ground in case he is using tier elements, which of course he is. So once he summons Cyber Sign, I really don't want him to actually summon any fusion monster basically. So I think Barkion is the go-to plan here, but yeah, might as well just gonna use the Dreaming Town here. So go for the typical floowandereeze gameplay again. Basically, take it onto the field, get a copy of Ryza. Ryza is gonna return back 2 copies on the field. So at this point on, first thing I want to talk about is why did I recycle back a copy of my Dreaming Town. It doesn't really matter, of course, basically, because he can't do anything else. If ever he has a copy of either Havness or some of the other tier element monsters, every time he mills, it will be banished. So I think he doesn't want that. And even so, he's done with his normal summon. So it's basically just a spell summon if he wants to. But I think if you're going with a tier elements deck, most of the time they don't want to mill their cards to the banish zone. So typically, just recycling back my Dreaming Town is necessary here. So there we go. I think the only choice that he has here is just to end his turn. I think he did, right? I think I forgot about this deck. Yeah, he ended his turn here. So on our turn, since we got a copy of Dreaming Town here, so I'm thinking we don't need another copy of M-Pen searching our Dreaming Town, so might as well we go towards a copy of Ariana or our Labyrinth side, basically. Getting a copy of Welcome Labyrinth. In case our Dreaming Town will be sent to the graveyard, we can recycle it back to the field with the help of our Silver Castle. So, set our Dreaming Town, and that's basically it. Our opponent will basically scoop. Alright, so here we are, guys, with game number 2 here. So we have one Eaglin, one Fissure, one Extravagance, one Different Dimension Ground, and one Labyrinth trap card. So our opponent is going first, which of course he just normal summon Keldo and set one back row. Now that's not really typical gameplay that you'll see for our tier elements, but yeah, we're actually lucky here. Extravagance first on our turn, we go for getting a copy of our Punishment and our Robina, which of course going first with the Fissure. So if ever he will use the effect of our monster and he has Havness, anything he mills will be banished instead. So that's really good. We actually use the effect of Fissure first, which of course sends to the banish zone a copy of Medora, and then we do our typical floowandereeze play. Sadly, our monster is going to be negated though. So like I said earlier, because in some scenarios like this that our monster or our floowandereeze cards are negated, we don't have anything that can protect our monsters. That is why we have the Labyrinth side of this type of deck that can actually protect our monsters on the field. So that's why we have Dimension Ground, Punishment, Lab, and Welcome Labyrinth for our arsenal. Now, like I said earlier, Punishment now at the moment is useless because we milled some from the Extravagance, of course, and then we have one Fissure present on the field. Like I said earlier, it's not the monster sent from the extra deck to the graveyard won't be in the graveyard, it will be banished instead, so the ability to pop won't resolve. So that's basically a dud here. So might as well just gonna activate it anyway, it doesn't really matter. So our opponent's gonna use the Pearlarina, search for a copy of Sharon. Now the Pearlarina will be useless here because it can't recycle back tier element monster from the graveyard. There we go. Then use the effect of Sulik, getting the effect of my Robina. We go for Welcome Labyrinth, and I basically just save the copy of dimension ground because we still have fissure on the field anyway. So if he removes the effect of fissure, then we still have another copy to banish his monsters. So sending Diviner was actually the bad choice for him, but he's actually managed to bring forth a fusion monster here. There we go, change my one monster of mine into a dark, and he managed to bring forth a copy of Starving Venom, which of course is not half bad, but I would say you can still win anyway. We have 3 on our hand, and that's basically what we need. So basically, on our turn, we draw into a copy of Ryza, which is really insane to actually draw into. He's gonna banish the Super Poly, and then chain with Rubina, and then the Egglin. Rubina is always gonna be the chain link 2 here because that's basically our go-to card to bring forth more combos. But in our case, since we have 3 on the field that activated the effect, we can just normal summon Egglin. Otherwise, if the Rubina will be negated. But I think on his point here, he can't even do that. So yeah. Go for Ryza in the field, bounce, bounce. Then attack for 2800 and then 700. E5, and then set 1 card face down. So that at this point on, we are on a winning condition. There we go. So Harakiri is the way. Or Seppuku, I think that's Seppuku. Alright, so last game, guys, and we have a somewhat of a bad hand with 1 Shifter, 1 Advent of the Adventure, 1 Dimension Ground, Evenly Match, and Welcome Labyrinth. So at this point on, we don't have any floowandereeze card that we can use our Advent of the Adventure on. So might as well gonna go for the Shifter play and then set 1 card in the field. Now basically, this is actually a misplay on my part, because I actually should have set a copy of Different Dimension Ground. Basically, Shifter is just 2 turns, so might as well just gonna set the Different Dimension Ground. So I almost lost this game just because of it, just because I didn't set the copy of Different Dimension Ground. So typically, there we go. Our opponent is gonna summon Medora to the field and then try to attack. So we spell summon our Silver Castle. No point to actually summon Ariana here, basically, so it's not really a problem. Ballerina is going to search for a copy of Sharon and then use the effect of Scream. So at this point on, him searching for a copy of Sharon means he has a copy of Happiness on hand. So typical play, he's going to end his turn and then go towards me. My turn, I draw a copy of Tonkan, use the effect of Adding the Adventure, go for our typical floowandereeze play here. So at this point on, I think it's prompting on his side, so he has Happiness basically. So this was actually the part where I'm contemplating on my mistake, where I should have actually set a copy of Different Dimension Ground. So, like I said earlier, yeah, Happiness is going to be summoned to the field. We can't do anything else about it anyway, because we don't have anything. And sadly, he has Skelbeck sent to the graveyard. So our only plan here is to summon the M-Pen, get a hold of our cards basically. But the problem here is most of the cards he's gonna send to the graveyard will use its effect, of course, with a Scream as well. So he has more chances of bringing forth more cards to the graveyard. So basically, we are at this point on, we are basically doomed. But for some sheer luck, we are getting, well, basically, I'm just hoping that he's gonna remove most of my cards on the field, because we have evenly matched. But, yeah. In some cases, this is actually a bad thing for us. So go for Kaleido Heart, just banishing my monster. Doesn't really matter if he banishes my M-Pen, but he actually choose Silver Castle here, and with the effect of Pillarino, destroys my M-Pen. There you go. And his turn there. So the best part about this is he actually end his battle phase. Main phase 2, we go for Unexplored Winds, shuffling back our Egglin and our Stree, getting a copy of our Extravagance for the next turn, and using the effect of Map. Doesn't really matter if I use Map today, because, yeah, doesn't really matter. Opponent's turn, use the effect of Different Dimension Ground. I won't make that same mistake twice. And that's basically it. He actually ended his turn there. So this point on, we're just hoping he doesn't have another copy of Havness. And luckily, from the extravagance, we got a copy of Fissure, so we're really safe to actually go for the gameplay. And that's basically it. We actually won the game there. Alright, so those were the replays, and this is the deck profile, guys. Hope you enjoy this kind of content. Like and subscribe for more contents like this in the near future. And yeah, if you want to showcase some of the decks or some of the replays in this channel, just email me in the comment section below. My email's there. You can showcase your replays. What replays do you want to showcase in this channel? And yeah, we'll talk about it. Have a laugh if you have some funny gameplays, of course. And yeah, that's it for today. Keep safe, good luck, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.